give you a full list of all the hormones that, at least that I do, that you might want to consider. Let me first start with the chart, our hormone chart. This is our cascade of hormones. Up here, we have cholesterol. And then cholesterol makes our mother hormone, which is our pregnenolone, not to be confused with progesterone. Pregnenolone, the mother hormone, makes progesterone and makes DHEA. I take both pregnenolone and DHEA over the counter. So I definitely am going to measure these. I want to see what the supplements that I'm taking over the counter are doing. And especially since these two are the mother, I guess the father hormone, I don't know, but the two main hormones, because DHEA makes testosterone and testosterone makes estradiol. It also makes DHT. We're going to talk about that. I had a little run-in with DHT a while ago, so we're going to talk about that. And progesterone makes cortisol. There are some other hormones that we don't really look at. I'm not sure why, but we don't. So just keep this cascade of hormones in your mind. We have cholesterol, pregnenolone, progesterone, cortisol, DHEA, testosterone, estradiol, DHT. Okay, let's get to the tests. Of course, we need CBC, complete metabolic panel, and lipid panel. We all know what that is. I would say do it twice a year. You really want to keep a handle on everything that's going on inside of your body, especially as we get older, because no matter how well we take care of ourselves, things do break down, they do start to change. And I just got all my blood work done a few days ago, so I will go over those results with you when I get them, probably next week or the week after. All right, in the hormone group, I will get pregnenolone, DHEA, progesterone, estradiol, also total and free testosterone, as well as DHT and SHBG. Let me tell you about DHT and SHBG. The SHBG binds testosterone. Let me show you actually. The SHBG will bind estradiol, DHT, and testosterone. It binds these up. And what that means, for instance, testosterone, you want to look at your total and then you want to look at your free, because SHBG will bind with testosterone, estradiol, as well as DHT, and make it inactive, so it cannot do anything in the human body, which it's supposed to be that way, but we don't want it to bind so much that we now have nothing available for us that's active. So when it binds, when SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin, binds onto testosterone or estrogen, it leaves like that much, a teeny tiny bit available in your body to do all the work. So you want to look at free and total testosterone, and then you want to look at SHBG. You want to see where are your levels. Now, SHBG, it is a protein, it is made in the liver, and like I said, it binds up estrogen, testosterone, and DHT, so they become inactive. We still want a little bit of active hormone though. I just heard a doctor say the other day, you want a high normal. So you don't want it to be over the normal, but you want it a high normal, because a high normal is associated with better heart health and a lower risk of type 2 diabetes, as well as protects against insulin resistance. So it's a good thing to have. High normal, I'll put the levels in the show notes. And then the DHT So it's a byproduct of testosterone. Testosterone makes it. And if it's too high, and mine was too high, my hair started falling out. And so that's what it's associated with. If it's too high, and I'll put the levels in the show notes, you can have hair loss, acne, oily skin, body hair growth like your chin, those types of things. But if it's too low, then you lose muscle mass, you're not as strong, your skin becomes very thin. So you don't want it too high, too low, you kind of want it in the middle. All right, next group of tests would be your thyroid. So important, the thyroid, but you want more than just your TSH. A lot of doctors will say, TSH is normal, you're good. And then you're like, I don't feel normal. What? I don't care if it's normal. I don't feel normal. Anyway, so you want to look at not only TSH, but free T3, free T4. The T3, that free T3, is what's doing all the work in the body. And a long time ago, I started to realize, just kind of by putting things together, that I had a conversion problem. Like my T4 was not adequately converting over to T3, T3 being the active form and what is needed to do the work in the body. And I could see I had a lot of T4, but very little T3. I figured it was a conversion problem. So for that, I started taking the reverse T3 test. And so I continue to take that to this day. I just had one the other day, and I can't wait to see what it is. But the reverse T3 will look at the conversion of the T4 to T3. Now, T3 uptake, I never got that test, but I want to mention it now because T3 uptake will look at the number of available sites that you have where it's going to bind to that site. So you want to figure out how many sites do you have available. And I'm guessing some women have a lot of sites and some women don't have a lot of sites. I never really looked into that piece too much, but it is kind of interesting to me. The human body fascinates me, absolutely fascinates me. All right, let me move on because I don't want to be here all day. Actually, I have been here all day. The next group, I forgot to mention one thing about thyroid. I have Hashimoto's. And so, of course, I get the thyroid antibodies test all the time, and they're always sky high. That's what it is for me. I'm not really trying to do anything about it. I don't think you can. And I'm not going to take medication. That's the bottom line. I am not going to go to the doctor and get on some medication. I'm just going to have to live with this. I haven't really looked into how do we get these antibodies down because I figure it's a very complicated process, and I really feel like I'm just going to have to live with this. I don't know. I might look into it at some point. But let me move on to the last 5 tests. They are IGF-1, cortisol, C-Reactive Protein, high sensitivity, ferritin, insulin, and homocysteine. All right, IGF-1, that's your youth serum. I want to look at it because I used to do, but not for very long, but I used to do growth hormone injections. They were very expensive, so I kind of didn't really follow through on them. I did it for a little bit of time, but then I didn't. It's just too expensive, but now we have peptides, and that's very exciting, and I'm going to get into the peptides very soon. All right, moving on, cortisol. So we know cortisol will be high in the morning, kind of get you going, get you started, and really decline towards the later part of the day, and in the evening should be very low. And it's the cortisol that will wake you up. And I think sometimes what women go through is that their cortisol starts to rise too early, like at 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning. But anyway, that's another conversation. So you want your cortisol to be high in the morning, low at night. But if it's constantly high, it can lead to sleep issues, insulin resistance, and weight gain. All right, let me move on. The next one is C-Reactive Protein. C-Reactive Protein, in one word, is all about inflammation. You want that number to be low. If it is high, you got to look into this. I never had a high number. I don't know what to do about it if I did have a high number. I would know if I had a high number, but I never did. Now, I just took my test a few days ago. I can't wait to see what that number is. Next one is ferritin. Okay, I had a personal experience with ferritin. So it turns out ferritin looks at your storage of iron. It is different than the iron test on a blood test. That is not an indication of how much storage of iron you have. Well, it turned out, I tested it, because it is implicated in hair loss. And so I looked into it, and I had low ferritin levels. And so I bought iron bisglycinate, and I chose that form because it does not constipate. And so I bought that. This is going back several years ago, and I started taking it. My levels went way up, actually too high, so I only take it 4 days a week now. And that's my story with ferritin. What else? Then there is insulin. I don't have to tell you about insulin. You know about it. It helps shuttle the glucose out of your bloodstream. But if you eat too many carbs, and I'm not talking about salads. No, you can have all the salads you want. I'm talking about rice. I'm talking about potatoes. I'm talking about, what else is there? Bread. Those are not your friend. They're not your friend. So I would say if you eat a lot of those and you have high insulin levels, you want to take those out immediately, because that's going to just spell disaster for you. And I want to tell you this. If you're not focused in on having a healthy diet 99% of the time, not 100%, oh my gosh, that's boring, 99% of the time, you're going to have a problem as you get older. I'm just telling you the way it is. And then the last one is homocysteine. And homocysteine is an amino acid. Let me read you about it. If your levels are too high, it increases your risk for heart disease, stroke, and blood clots. Do I need to say any more? Anyway, those are the tests that I take. I find it works for me. I'm sure there are other tests that you can take, but this is what works for me. And if you have any questions, let me know. All right, have a good day.